when you, as a licensee, act for a client as an agent, you are a fiduciary. Fiduciary duties are some of the more sacred and serious of the legal duties. The 4 key fiduciary duties are the duty of loyalty, the duty to avoid conflicts of interest, the duty of full and complete disclosure, and the duty of confidentiality. The overarching fiduciary duty is the duty of loyalty, which means that you, as a licensee, must put your client's interests above everyone else, including your own. If a licensee does not do this, he or she is acting in a conflict of interest. A licensee has an obligation and a duty to avoid conflicts of interest. However, if a conflict is unavoidable, the licensee must fully disclose the conflict to the client and obtain that client's permission to continue acting. Now, some conflicts are so serious that the only way that a licensee can resolve the conflict is for the licensee to stop acting altogether. While most of the fiduciary duties end on the closing of a transaction, the duty of confidentiality lasts forever. Designated agency is created by contract, and because a contract is a voluntary relationship, the client is free to accept designated agency or ask that the brokerage offer him or her an alternative form of representation. When brokerages offer their services to consumers, the agreements that they use lay out the system of designated agency and talk about who is responsible for doing what. When the consumer agrees to this contract, he or she is authorizing the brokerage to practice designated agency. The 2 key service agreements that provide for designated agency in British Columbia are the multiple listing contract and the buyer's agency exclusive contract.
While designated agency is created by contract, there are rules under the Real Estate Services Act that apply to designated agency. A brokerage is permitted to designate one or more of its licensees as the exclusive agent for a client. If that is the case, then the rules set out under the Real Estate Services Act with respect to duties to clients do not apply to the brokerage and do not apply to the other licensees of that brokerage. The rules provide that the designated agency must be in writing, must be agreed to by the client, that all confidential information received by the client is strictly confidential, and that the brokerage must treat the client in a fair and impartial manner. The brokerage is required to treat confidential information as confidential information just for that client. So the managing broker should ensure that there are policies and procedures in place in the brokerage to deal with confidentiality. There should be no loose talk around the water cooler. Contracts and contractual documents should not be left on the photocopier. Given the essential prohibition on dual agency, does designated agency still apply? Yes, it does. Because of that, a managing broker should ensure that his or her brokerage complies with the rules with respect to designated agency. Secondly, since the brokerage is required to treat the clients in a fair and impartial manner, once again, the managing broker should ensure that there are policies and procedures to deal with that. Designated agency is good for consumers, and when practiced properly, designated agency is also good for licensees.